Welcome to Build for Battle, where we push Pokemon to their limits and see what they're really capable of. Today I've got two insane battles for you. Cody and Blitzer brought momentum swings, clutch plays, and moments that kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. If you want to be featured in these videos, check out the Pokemon Battle Hub Discord. It's free, full of trainers, and a great place to test teams and ideas. Let's jump straight into the first battle. Going into this first game, the immediate threats on my opponent's team are going to be the Iron Moth, the Rillaboom, the Weavile, but you shouldn't sleep on Raikou, Hitmonchan, or even the Goodra, to be honest with you. I figured Venusaur would actually be a really good Pokemon against my opponent's team this game, but I also figured they might actually lead off with the Iron Moth or the Raikou to try and counteract a Torkoal lead. So I decided to lead off with Volbeat, that way I can get a Thunder Wave off on the Iron Moth potentially, or just go for the U-turn on the Raikou since it can't really do too much damage to us even with a Choice Specs. That's the game plan, let's get into the first game. And the battle begins, so good luck, have fun, Cody. Obviously this is a post-commentated battle, but good luck anyway. They led off with Raikou, as I kind of suspected they might do, as I led off with Volbeat. Right off the bat, I picked to go for a U-turn. They did go for a Thunderbolt, and we were able to eat that up like it was nothing pretty much. So we go for that U-turn, bit of chip damage off on the Raikou, which is always nice, and back on over to us. I think a Noivern would be a good switch here because it does have speed, and we can threaten it out with that potential Terra Normal Boom Burst or a Choice Specs Draco Meteor. So I decided to do just that and go for a Draco Meteor, to be honest with you. Naturally, they did withdraw the Raikou. They weren't going to risk taking a Draco Meteor to the face, and they're going to go into Goodra, the Hisuian Goodra with the giant metal shell on the side. Nice and shiny as well, you got to love it. We go for the Draco Meteor, though. That's going to do a good chunk of damage. It doesn't quite do half, so I was a little bit disappointed in the power from Noivern there, but it is what it is. So now I've got to get out of here. I figured it was a risky play because they could go for a Flamethrower predicting this, but I decided to go into my Volbeat. I saw how it handled that Raikou earlier, the damage-wise, and I figured it would be the perfect way to counteract this Goodra. Now, I was expecting an Iron Defense set with Body Press, which they very well could be, and the plan was to just Encore them into the Iron Defense, but they did go for a knockoff, getting rid of our Heat Rock, so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to Thunder Wave this thing. So anyway, I go for the Thunder Wave. Volbeat shakes his little butt at the Goodra, which is funny, and the Goodra does get paralyzed, but will it get fully paralyzed? That is the question. Of course it will, because Volbeat has got hacks coming out of every arm. I don't know what I was going to say then. Anyway, I decided, you know what? Let's just go for a U-turn, because chances are they're either going to go for the Iron Defense, maybe. They haven't seen Encore yet. Or they go for another knockoff or a Dragon-type move, one of the two. So I decided to bring in Samsung, the Hisuian Samurott, which I painstakingly played through Legends of Arceus to get. And they actually got fully powered again. So I'm pretty happy with the outcome so far. This is working out pretty well. So I decided to go for a Ceaseless Edge. Ceaseless Edge made sense. We get the spikes up, do a lot of damage to the Goodra potentially. They do withdraw the Goodra though. And what do they bring in? None other than Rillaboom. They're once well trained, of course. It's also nice and shiny. A very shiny looking team, if I do say so. So they get that Grassy Surge up, but we do get a free Ceaseless Edge and a free layer of spikes from this switch, despite the fact it's not super effective. And it does nearly half, which is really happy. I'm really happy with the outcome of this turn, to be honest with you. Naturally, I can't stay in against the Rillaboom. I've still got full HP, and I could use that Focus Sash later. So I decided to switch into Firefly once again, the Volbeat. Volbeat getting a lot of action this game, to be honest with you. So they did go for another knockoff, which isn't going to KO us because we already had our item knocked off, of course. And we are going to get healed a little bit from the grassy terrain, which is nice. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go for a U-turn and see what they're going to do. They did go for a Grassy Glide, though, which isn't going to KO Volbeat because Volbeat is a tank, a little tank. And we go for that U-turn, taking them into range of a Ceaseless Edge or whatever move I already want to go for. This Rillaboom is easy pickings right now. So I decided to go into Shelmer, the Torkoal, get the sun up while I'm there, and also maybe even get some Stealth Rocks up or just a straight up Lava Plume. One of the two, I couldn't decide at the time. I did figure, though, they're not going to switch it. They're not going to stay in. They're definitely switching out Rillaboom in this instance, and they're going to go into something else. And they did, in fact, go for the Hitmonchan switch. Nice and shiny as well. Hitmonchan shiny looks a bit desaturated in this game, but whatever. They get hurt by the spikes, so they're not heavy-duty boots, which is good to know. We get the Stealth Rocks up. Now, if you didn't know, Hitmonchan does, in fact, get Rapid Spin. A very interesting move for a Hitmonchan to have. It mainly gets it because of the association with him on top. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to try and block that Rapid Spin with my Mimikyu. So I withdraw Shelmer real quick. I'm going to go into Hexachew, the Mimikyu. I love Mimikyu. It's such a cool Pokemon. A really cool design, I've got to say. So we go into that, and they did go for a knockoff instead. They knock off our leftovers, of course, after breaking our disguise. That's very rude of you, which does do a little bit of damage to us, but it is what it is. But this next turn, they still can't go for a Rapid Spin. So we could just go for a Swords Dance or a Play Rough, or whatever they want to go for against the team. Naturally, I decided to go for a Swords Dance because there was no way they were going to stay in with a Hitmonchan in this situation. So they do, in fact, go into Raikou. Now, Raikou is a very interesting one because in the sun, we can take a Scald. We can also take a Thunderbolt based on the damage it did to Volbeat earlier. So I'm happy to go for a Swords Dance here and then potentially take this thing out with a Play Rough. So I did go for a Play Rough. Of course, they did go for a Scald. It's not going to do no damage in the sun, and also it doesn't burn us, which is really nice. And down goes the Raikou. A Disguise Buster Mimikyu is, you know, it looks like he's not doing too well there, but he's very strong right now. So in comes Hitmonchan, and I was thinking, this is a bizarre one. Why would you bring the Hitmonchan back in here? They do get hurt by the spikes and the Stealth Rocks, of course, so we've got a little bit of chip there on the Hitmonchan. And this time, I'm just going to go for a Drain Punch. I was fully expecting a Terra Steel here, and they did go for the Bullet Punch, but no Terra Steel. We go for the Drain Punch, and it does over their half the remaining HP, which is great for me, because it means I can live, not only can I live another Bullet Punch, but it also means that they can either switch out here, which they very well could do. I decided to go for the Shadow Sneak just so that I wouldn't get hit by a Bullet Punch again. There's no point recovering my health if I can just go for a Shadow Sneak and not take the damage in the first place, right? Rillaboom comes in, wanting to sell that grassy terrain once again, which is perfectly understandable and fine by me. They do get some spikes and Stealth Rock damage, which is fantastic. They have lost their Rapid Spinner to the Mimikyu, which is fantastic. Mimikyu being a Ghost type did its job. It blocked the Rapid Spin, all that wonderful stuff. I decided I didn't want to take my chances to taking a Grassy Glide in the face, because if it's Choice Banded, then the Grassy Glide will definitely KO my Mimikyu from where it was at. So I decided, you know, I'm going to sack off my Volbeat real quick. They did go for the Grassy Glide, which is going to take out Volbeat, unfortunately, but it's all well and good because Mimikyu didn't go down. We can definitely use that Shadow Sneak later if push comes to shove, you know. And the Harsh Sunlight does fade this turn, so we have no choice but to go back into Torkoal, really. So Torkoal's going to come in. Shelmer's going to come in right now. Get that Sun back up, ready for Venusaur to come in and do its thing, which would be absolutely amazing. And then I decided, you know what? Let's just go for a Lava Plume. They did stay in, though, and go for a knockoff to get rid of our Heat Rock, but it's too little too late because that Sun is up for 8 turns now. We go for that Lava Plume. That's going to take out the Rillaboom in one clean hit. As you would imagine, in the sun, Fire-type move against the Grass-type is always a bad combination for my opponent. So Blake the Sleepy comes in, which is going to be a nice shiny Weavile. I despise shiny Weavile, I'm not going to lie to you. So this thing, I was guessing, was like, you know what, this is their last-ditch effort to get some damage off on the Torkoal so they could bring something else in, like the Iron Moth, for example, and get a Sludge Wave KO. So I figured, you know what, let's just stay in and go for a Body Press. It's 4 times super effective. They did go for a knockoff, the most powerful move they could really heals with. It does a bit more chip damage, and we go for a Body Press, taking out that Weavile in one clean hit. Now, personally for me, I would have saved the Weavile. I would have gone into the Iron Moth straight away and Sludge Wave, because that damage that the Weavile did with the knockoff is just not enough to make it so that Iron Moth can KO with Sludge Wave. So either way, it was going to be a 2-hit KO with the Iron Moth. But he comes in nice and shiny or silver looking. I do like the shiny Future Paradoxes. I think they look pretty cool. The Volca Robot as well. That's an awesome nickname. They do get the Quark Drive in speed, so they do outspeed everything on my team other than the Venusaur right now. So I decided, you know, I'm just going to stay in. I'm going to go for a Lava Plume. And they actually ended up terroring. Terastallizing. And what Terastallization are they going to have? Of course, it's going to be Fairy. That's the usual one. It's a pretty good Terra for an Iron Moth, to be honest with you. It's a really good one, especially if they have Dazzling Gleam for stab. It's always a good time. So they go for that Fiery Dance, looking to farm for that special attack boost, which makes a lot of sense. It is going to do a lot of damage in the sun with a critical hit, but no special attack boost, which is nice. We get a free Lava Plume, which does nearly, well, half the remaining HP, which is really nice. But that Grassy Terrain is going to heal them up. But they still get one more chance to get a Fiery Dance boost in special attack here, so they do go for the Fiery Dance, which is great for them because it KOs the Torkoal. However, no special attack boost, unfortunately for my opponent there. So I get the Para Hacks, they get no special attack boost. It's just what you like to see, isn't it? Anyway, now is the time for Aloe Vera, the Venusaur, to jump on in from his Pokeball, or the Luxury Ball. And I said, you know what, I'm Chlorophyll. I don't need to Terra, but I think I'm going to go for it anyway. So I do Terra and I go for a Weather Ball. The Weather Ball play is basically because A, it'll KO the Iron Moth, and B, if they decided to switch into Hisui and Gudra to take on the Sludge Wave and try and stall out the sun a little bit, at least I get the KO on that thing as soon as it goes on the field. So there we are, Terastallizing into a Fire type. Venusaur looking great right now. You gotta love it. They go for the Sludge Wave. They do outspeed us despite the Chlorophyll, which is great. I didn't realize they would outspeed me with that. I mean, Venusaur's not exactly the fastest Pokemon in the world, but I just figured it'd like still outspeed. So that was my bad. I was wrong to think that. But yeah, Mimikyu Iron Moth does go down here, which is fantastic. And Venusaur looks like he's going to finish up the game potentially, but let's see how that goes. In comes the Gudra. Let's see if Gudra can handle Venusaur one-on-one like this. I personally don't think it can. Thanks to the Stealth Hooks and Spikes especially, they're going to lower its health even further. And we just go for a Weather Ball here, which is of course going to be able to take out this Goodra. Let's be real. Of course it's going to take out this Goodra, right? Right? Let's see. Of course it is. There was no tension there at all. The hit was always going to KO. But anyway, that is going to be the game. So GG, Cody. That was a pretty fun one. A bit of hacks on my behalf. So I do apologize for hacks. Not that you should really apologize for something out of your control. But yeah. So yeah, GG, Cody. That was a pretty fun one. Going to this next game, I was a little bit worried at my opponent's team. They have the Ninetales to get the Aurora Veil, which is going to greatly benefit the Pokemon like Dragonite, which are already bulky as is and like to sub Dragon Answers, etc. Delphox can also be quite a big threat. I've seen people run like Nasty Plot or Psychic Noise with Throat Spray. That's always a really cool set to see. Gotta watch out for Dragapult. It's a speedy threat. The last Pokemon I expected to be scared of was the Vaporeon, but as you'll see later, naturally, I decided I'd lead off with my Torkoal, get the sun up straight away so that Venusaur can put some pressure on the team. Also, because I kind of figured they would lead off with the Alolan Ninetales and then we can just kind of cancel out their snow. But let's just see how it goes. And the battle begins. Good luck, have fun, Blitzer, of course. As always, they do lead off with the Dragapult as I led off with my Torkoal. Now, I was fully expecting a Draco Meteor here, I will be honest with you. That's the only reason I thought they would lead with Dragapult. Dragapult. We're gonna have to switch out Torkoal, I'm afraid. I don't want to get hit by a Draco Meteor from Choice Specs Dragapult. So I decided to go into Firefly because I'm pretty confident we can live one Draco Meteor and then just Thunder Wave this thing. They actually go for a Dragon Darts, which isn't actually enough to 2-hit KO us. I mean, like, considering it's a 2-hit move. So I decided, you know what, we're going to go for a Thunder Wave here and try and get this Dragapult. We do manage to get it because nobody knows what Volbeat does. Nobody expects Volbeat to do anything, but paralyzing one of the fastest Pokemon on the team is definitely a W for us, especially considering they couldn't move because they were fully paralyzed. Amazing stuff. So I decided, you know what, let's U-turn on out. We go for that U-turn, a little bit of chip on the Dragapult. We can definitely use Volbeat later on for paralyzing other Pokemon as well, so that's always something to look forward to. So let's see how this is going to play out. So I bring in Hexachew the Mimikyu because there is always the chance that this thing's banded. They do go for another Dragon Darts and it's not going to affect Hexachew on here. So you know what this means for Hexachew? It means we get to go for a Play Rough. They do in fact withdraw Dragapult though. What are they going to go into? I think it's the Iron Treads if I had to guess. Yeah, Iron Treads comes in. I haven't rehearsed this one. So Play Rough comes through. That's going to do a little bit of chip damage to the Iron Treads. I've got to switch out though because I've still got my Disguise. I don't want to lose it just yet. But then I figured, you know what, I changed my mind. I'm going to go for a Drain Punch. We do outspeed them, so they are bulky Iron Treads, which is good to know. They go for that knockoff, getting rid of our leftovers, but also, most importantly, breaking our Disguise. Now, I don't mind the Disguise being broken as much as I thought I would. As long as we get the damage off on them, it's all good. So I figured this next turn, you know what, let's just double down and go for another Drain Punch. They do withdraw the Iron Treads, though. What are they going to go into? That is the question. Of course, they bring in Sky, the Paldea Champion, which is the Alolan Ninetales. Now, this thing's going to get the Snow Warning up, making my sun just go away. And I go for a Drain Punch, which does a nice little bit of chip for, you know, gets a bit of health back for us. So Mimikyu's looking pretty good here. Not too bad. I really like Mimikyu, you know, I really do. Anyway, naturally, I've got to go into Torkoal here because I need to prevent that Aurora Veil from being set up. I resist both stabs. I'm not too worried about this Alolan Ninetales, I'm going to be honest with you. So we'll withdraw Hexachew real quick, and we're going to go into Torkoal, get rid of the snow, like so. So Shelmer's coming on in. I love Torkoal. I love this nickname. Thank you, chat. You gave me a really cool nickname for a Torkoal. Anyway, Drought comes in. They do withdraw the Ninetales on the switch. They made a double play. They obviously expected the Torkoal to come in. And they go into Vaporeon, which is a respectable play. So Vaporeon comes in all nice and shiny. Gotta love it. This time I'm like, you know what? Do I switch out here or don't I? So I decided to go into Volbeat because the only thing I could think this Vaporeon would do is go for an Acid Armor or a Calm Mind or something along those lines. So I go into Firefly v Volbeat. So I figured if they go for an Acid Armor or a Calm Mind, I can encore them into it and then kind of go from there. But they actually just go straight for a Surf, which thanks to the sunny day, isn't able to KO us. It's like, you know what, I'm going to go for an Encore, lock you into that Surf, and then I can bring my Venusaur in and go for some Gross. But no, they do withdraw the Vaporeon here, and they're going to go into the Iron Tread. So unfortunately, we don't get to do anything with this Encore. It's just not happening. So yeah. There we go, Rapid Spin comes through though. That's going to take out my Volbeat and also boost my opponent's Iron Tread speed. However, I'm not too worried about the Iron Treads, to be honest with you, because this thing is, you know, is powerful enough, but we've got plenty to handle it. For example, we've got Hisuian Samurott. This gives us a free opportunity to go for a Ceaseless Edge, or we can go for a Flip Turn or a Aqua Cutter, whichever we want to go for. I just decided to go straight for the KO. They do actually have Wild Charge, which is interesting. Doesn't take us down to our Sash, which is, you know, fine. They get some recoil, so this Aqua Cutter is definitely KOing as it does, which is absolutely fantastic. Down goes the Iron Treads, down goes the Rapid Spinner, which is fantastic. So in comes Blaze, which is the Dragonite, the nice and shiny Dragonite. Blitzer always brings this Dragonite. It's like their signature Pokemon. It's kind of like Leon without the Charizard. So they go for an extreme speed. Obviously, it's going to KO my Samurott. I didn't really see a way out of that one. I couldn't stay in and risk them going for a Dragon Dance and not getting any damage off on them. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We do have the Mimikyu to block extreme speeds, of course. We do have, of course, Noivern, which does outspeed. We've got a couple of options here. So I decided to go into Shelmer, and the reason I'm going into Shelmer here is because I wanted to try and get the burn with that Lava Plume. Now, you might be wondering why I don't run Will-O-Wisp over Lava Plume or something like that. Well, it's because Lava Plume, I'm normally pretty lucky with the burns on Lava Plume, to be honest with you. So they do withdraw the Dragonite. They obviously might be fearing the Will-O-Wisp. They don't want to get burned, which is fine. They go into Sky, the Paldea champion, which is the Ninetales, and this is where I've been baited. Because now they get the snow up. I have no way of getting rid of that snow. They definitely get Aurora Veil now. We go for the Lava Plume, though. It is going to do a nice chunk of damage, and inside my head, I should have just gone for another Lava Plume here, but I decided to go for a Stealth Rocks. They do, in fact, go for the Aurora Veil, as you would expect here, but I could have got the KO on that Ninetales there and then, which would have been really helpful later on down the line, but we got the Stealth Rocks up at least, and they've got no Rapid Spinner, so this is always going to be fun. The Dragonite, of course, is going to get hurt by it, so is the Ninetales, etc. So now, I figured they would likely go for an Encore to stop us from going for any other move than Stealth Rocks, but they actually decided to withdraw their Ninetales and go into Vaporeon. And this is where I was a bit worried. So Vaporeon does come in naturally. It's going to get hit by the Stealth Rocks, which is great. We withdrawed our Torkoal and went into Noivern, and I'm wondering, does this Vaporeon have Ice Beam? More than likely, they tend to run Scald Ice Beam, or Surf Ice Beam, sorry. They do, in fact, have the leftover item, which is always good to know. So I'm thinking just like a bulky support set or something along those lines. Either way, I could drop a Draco here, or I could just U-turn. So I decided to go for the U-turn option. It does a bit of chip, and it also gets us out there. We don't want to risk the Ice Beam KOing on Noivern here, so definitely the best play I could really have made there. And now all I need to do really is go into either Venusaur or Torkoal. Torkoal, of course, would have been there to get the sun up, but yeah, the Venusaur coming in here is fine. So they did go for an Ice Beam on the switch, which is unfortunate. It does over half, so I'm a bit worried. I panicked a bit, to be fair, at this point. I was like, wait, this Vaporeon's actually putting in their work. What's going on right now? So I decided, you know what, I'm going to Terrasilize into a Fire type. This way I can be resistant to the Ice Beam that's still probably coming our way, and get off a Giga Drain, which should do a lot of damage, and also recover a lot of our health. So that's the game plan here. So Terra Fire is here for the Venusaur. They decided to Terra as well in the face of the Venusaur. They decided to Terra, and what type are they going to go for? None other than the Ice type. So now they get a defense boost thanks to the snow. The Aurora Veil boosting that defense even further. I'm not able to get this thing out with a physical attacker, that's for sure. So the Giga Drain comes through. It doesn't do nearly as much damage as I needed it to do, but we did get a little bit of health back thanks to Vaporeon's high health amount, which is always nice. Life Orb, unfortunately, is going to be there, and they do go for the Ice Beam, which is boosted by Terra, and that is going to do a little bit of damage. It won't do too much damage. You know, I'll be real with you. I was fine with this. But the snow has stopped. We can't go for Weather Ball, okay, because the sun is not up. So that is a bit of a predicament that we're in right now. So what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to get Venusaur out of here and go into Torkoal again. I need to get that sun up, you know. So we'll withdraw Aloe Vera here. We can save it for another day. And we'll go into Shelmer. So Shelmer comes in. Looking amazing. I love Torkoal. It's such a cool Pokemon. We get that sun up with a Drought. They did go for a Surf, though. And even in that Drought, it still does over half thanks to not even a critical hit. I know, it's crazy, right? So this Vaporeon's just like on an offensive spree right now. So I decided, you know what, the best course of action is probably just go for a Lava Plume or a Body Press. But then I figured, wait, they've got reduced Surf Power and we've got a Mimikyu in the back with Drain Punch. This could actually work out pretty nicely for us. So Hexachu's going to have to come in here, like so. They go for that Wish, and that I wasn't expecting the Wish, I'll be real with you. I really wasn't expecting the Wish, but let's see if Mimikyu can kind of pull this back for us a little bit. That'd be ideal. Maybe we'll see a Protect here, or at the worst, a Switch. So I decided to go for the Swords Dance. They did withdraw the Vaporeon, not wanting to get hit by that Drain Punch that we saw earlier, and they go into Blaze, the reliable partner, which is, of course, the Dragonite. We are going to see some Stealth Rock Chip here, which does indicate they're not heavy-duty boots. They're more than likely something like, I don't know, Weakness Policy or Leftovers. We haven't seen Leftovers, though. But I go for that Swords Dance, and I'm pretty happy with this. So they have already Terra'd, so we can definitely hit this thing with a super effective Play Rough, but the Wish came through and took them back to multi-scale range. So we go for that play rough at +2. It's not doing nearly enough damage. The Aurora Veil plus the multi-scale definitely stops that. And then they find out their weakness policy. I should know this. Every time I face Blitzer and they bring Dragonite, it is a weakness policy Dragonite. I should have remembered this, but I didn't. So Fire Punch comes through in the Sun at +2. Mimikyu had no chance. No chance at all. The only upside here is we can go into Noivern, outspeed this thing and drop a Draco, and the Aurora Veil is no longer up. The only problem with that is we lock ourselves into Draco Meteor, and then they can bring in the Ninetales just easily. So I decided to drop a Draco anyway. They did go for an extreme speed at +2. It nearly gets the job done, KOing on Noivern nearly. But Draco Meteor does come through, and that's going to be able to take out that Dragonite, which is absolutely amazing for us. Dragonite going down is great, but now they get a free switch in with Ninetales if they want to get that Aurora Veil back up. And I'm not really looking forward to that. Well, we could just go into Torkoal, I guess, to block that, but let's see how it goes. So they go for Whisburn, which is going to be the Delphox. Now, the Delphox coming in here is actually quite scary. They do get some Stealth Rocks chip, which is always nice. I'm locked into Draco Meteor. I haven't got the best thing to do here. I have no idea what I'm going to do in this instance. I'm not going to lie to you. So I decided Noivern's my best chance of winning this game. It's my only chance of winning this game, and I'm going to have to do something about this. So I go into Venusaur just to sack it off to whatever this Delphox wants to do to me. They go for a Psychic Noise. It is the set. It's the set. It is the Throat Spray set for the Delphox. I do love that set. Venusaur does unfortunately go down here, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And you didn't see it, but they were Throat Spray. It boosted the special attack and all that. The footage kind of glitched out there, so I do apologize about that. But Noivern is here. All we need to do really is drop a Draco, and that is all I really can do. So drop a Draco comes through, and it goes down. So the Delphox does go down to Noivern. So Noivern got a couple of kills here, which is always nice and powerful and stuff like that. So yeah, that's great for us. Vaporeon does come in there with its Terra Ice. No doubt can take any hit we can throw at it, to be honest with you. That Terra Ice is definitely devastating for us, so I'm going to have to just do my best here, so Torkoal it is. So we withdraw Noivern, we've got to get in and we've got to go for a Flamethrower, and we need to get a crit, and the crit better be able to KO this thing. So Shelma, come on in, there we go. They decide to go for a Wish. Now the Wish is a problem here, because now they just need to KO that Torkoal, and they're gonna gain loads of health back, which is really unfortunate. The Harsh Sunlight does indeed fade there. I should have really stayed in and Draco'd if I knew they were going to go for a Wish, which I didn't, obviously, but it was a good guess. And then got into Torkoal, reset the Sun so I get that Flamethrower boosted by fire. You know, it would have been great, but no. Torkoal does go down to the surf here. They're going to get healed by that Wish, and I completely misplayed against this Vaporeon. But at the same time, this Vaporeon, it just felt unkillable. It felt like there was nothing on my team that could KO this thing. So I'm going to bring Noivern in, and again, if we had the Sun up here, this would have been perfect. But we didn't. So I decided to go for that Flamethrower. Flamethrower comes through with Choice Specs. It's going to do a lot of damage. Nearly as the KO with a critical hit. If the Sun was up, we would be sitting pretty right now. But unfortunately, we're not, as there's the Ice Beam that KOs the Noivern and ends the game. So that was GG Blitzer. That was a fun one. We're going to end the video on an L, right? We're going to end it on an L. You're going to have an L sometimes, right? Anyway, GG Blitzer. That was a great one.